Welcome viewers. On behalf of Iravati Research and Communication Center, this is Pratim Ranjan Bose, your host. We will discuss about Tripura, which is going to polls in this month only in this session. I have with me political scientist and author Sajjan Kumar. Sajjan is a poll star, a very reputed one, and is well known to Indian media. And he is just back from Tripura, so I think this is the right occasion to catch and have some discussion on what is going on the ground. As you are aware that Tripura has certain distinctions. That is exactly why we are picking this up. Unlike Northeast has 8 states, of which 7 are small states, including Tripura, and across the region there is a pattern, excepting in Tripura. That is due to its history. It was a princely state that joined India, and there has been the king open gates to the refugees from East Bengal or East Pakistan during partition, and that changed the demography. So much so that the indigenous population of the land is now 30% of the total. It is a very strategic location. It is practically inside Bangladesh, and it is the far eastern state of India. With all this, Tripura's politics had been different when compared to the rest in terms of it didn't see much of ethnicity based politics, which is rather a pattern in the region. It is the second Bengali speaking state in India after West Bengal, and similar to West Bengal, we saw a long stint of left rule, almost half of the period since independence. So Tripura is an outlier in northeastern political pattern. In BJP won the state in 2018, and as in 2023, CPIM and the Left Front and Congress, the former arch rivals, they have joined hands and contesting this election in coalition. The big change, or the biggest change that has come, is through Maharaja, or as he is fondly called, the head of the royal family, erstwhile royal family, Sri Pradyot Barman Manikya Barma. He formed a party called Tipra Motha party, demanding the rule of a separate land for the indigenous communities. The slogan of the party is "Our land, our rule," and evidently it caught the attention. Tipra Motha has swept the autonomous district council votes last year, and this year's election is, they are supposed to get a good sizable, there has been a consolidation. Now with this, Sajjan, to what extent this consolidation, the tribal vote bank and the tribal parties are not new in Tripura? What is the difference this time?
Yeah, Pratim, it's a very pertinent question. I mean, Tripura, as you said, while there has been social tension along the ethnic lines, but in the past elections until 2018, when BJP defeated CPM, you see the pattern has been that both the tribals and the non-tribals, predominantly Bengalis, rallied behind respective political parties. So CPM had a tribal vote bank as well as a committed Bengali vote bank. Similarly, Congress had committed votes among both tribals and non-tribals. While there were tribal parties which tried to speak the language of ethnicity, but that, unlike rest of the northeastern states, never became the dominant pattern of Tripura. But now in 2023, we found in our field study, there is a paradigm shift. This time, the social division or social fault line along the ethnic lines has seamlessly translated into the political divisions also, which means the voting is going to be overwhelmingly along the ethnic lines, wherein majority of the tribes are consolidated behind the tribal party Tipra Motha, led by Maharaja, who is also called as Bubagra, Pradyot Manikya Barma himself. And the counter consolidation of the Bengalis is also catering to the incumbent party, because CPM and Congress combined is losing out the war of perception on the plank of being capable of tackling the social and political ethnic division in future. So one shift is now the social division along the ethnic lines is also operating in the political arena, and people are going to vote overwhelmingly along the ethnic lines. Now this has brought Tripura in sync with majority of the northeastern states, wherein ethnicity has been the language of politics and has driven the electoral game. Why? Because Tripura had the distinction of being different because of the nature of the ruling political party, which was CPM. Like Bengal, CPM here created a committed vote bank, both among the tribals as well as the Bengalis, so much so that they started not only having committed voters, but also started controlling the familial, marital, economic, personal spheres of people's lives. And therefore, like Bengal, Tripura was also denoted as the party society, because the civil society, which should be relatively autonomous from the state, was completely consumed by the CPM's ruling regime. And therefore, that never allowed the social fault line based on ethnicity to translate along the ethnic lines also, which is now complete. Now, why consolidation is there? Why ethnic politics this time, particularly when CPM is in the opposition and BJP is the incumbent party? Why do we see now that the tribal consolidation or the ethnic consolidation or ethnic fault line is also operating as the political fault line? The reason being that you have to take into cognizance that in the last couple of decades, there is an emergence of a tribal middle class. Now that tribal middle class, wherein a significant section is also relatively young, is not only complaining about the economic or material backwardness. You go into the ADC areas and you find the conditions of roads, infrastructure, etc. are poorer compared to the rest of the areas. So there is a tangible reality why tribals are angry about the developmental and economic issues. But more than that, and that has to do with the political psychology, the tribal middle class today is angry because of the perception of the past, particularly under the CPM rule, wherein there was an assault on all the signs of royalty and aristocracy connected to the king. Because CPM, when it employed the language of equality and egalitarianism and projected the royalty, the king, and all the palaces, monuments, institutions, icons as a sign of the past and exploitation, they did not take into cognizance that it was perceived not as an egalitarian or economic measure, but to overwhelming section of the tribes, it was seen as a deliberate assault, a hostile move, predominantly by a non-tribal party, on every cultural, historical, and social symbolism, which gives tribal a sense of thick identity. So
Cultural
royalty,
identity.
because yeah, so Tripura king was a tribal.
Of
He
course.
was seen, he was seen as a continuation of the socio-cultural identity that tribals are proud of. And at a time wherein there was a demographic shift and tribals become the minority, their anxiety about their own sense of identity, cultural identity, was paramount. And at that time, when the ruling CPM government seized palace, converted it into the assembly building, seized extension of the palace ground wherein the horses and others animals used to be kept, astabal, made it stadium, took the Neer Mahal, which is in Udaipur district, a water palace at par with
Yeah.
Rajasthan's Jal Mahal,
Jaipur. Yeah.
seized it, and thereby started eliminating all the signs and symbols of the past and royalty. Tribals saw it as an assault on and deliberate assault on their cultural and social identities. And therefore, today, when you see the tribal middle class is emerging and is angry, the anger is not just economic. Yes, it is a basis of that articulation. But primarily, the past rule by the CPM is seen as an attempt to deny any notion of cultural symbolism by the party. And what adds to their insult and hostile experience is the very condescending and patronizing language that the CPM leaders employed to justify their anti-royalty policy and moves. When they say that primarily we were trying to bring equality by demolishing the royalty. The royalty was not a royalty which is seen as exploitative. The royalty to the tribals was a mark of their identity, which gave them a sense of continuity, a sense of stability. And that is why today you see, yeah.
To a tribal, perhaps, it is like this, that if this can happen to our king, I mean, what can happen to us? A simple symbolism. It is if the same king who invited you in his land, he may suffer the indignation. So who are we? This is, I think this is what my feel is. You can correct me if I'm not wrong, but this is exactly what I felt.
Precisely, that is the sentiment, and all the more this time, what is difference? Why do we see the tribals are united behind a tribal party, Tipra Motha, led by the king? Because the tribal issue, the demand for a separate state, Tipra land or greater Tipra land, is not a new demand. In the past, there have been tribal parties, different leaders.
Yes.
You have TUGS, you have INPT, you have IPFT.
Right.
Now you have Tipra Motha. The difference is, and that we found on the ground talking to the tribal respondents, that now Bubagra, that is Maharaj himself, is on the front. So it is not just a common tribal leader who is coming to exhort the tribals to reclaim their cultural space.
So
it is Maharaja himself who is on the front.
Probably that also helped to remove the fault lines between the tribal communities.
Yes. And that is something Pradyot Manikya has given the call of something called Thansa. Thansa is the Coke Baroque term, which means unity. Now to the tribals, it means that we may be different tribes. We may be Dev Barma, we may be Riang, we may be Jamatia, we may be Tripuri, we may be Halam, etc. But we are all indigenous tribes, and there has to be a internal unity. So concept of Thansa is not only working, but we were amazed to see that the common tribals were using, when we asked provocatively the teasing question to the non-Dev Barma tribe that Maharaja is a Dev Barma, you are a Tripuri or Reang or a Jamatia, why are you responding to that? Therein the word Thansa found a very significant reference coming from the common people. So on the ground, the call for a tribal unity, solidarity, consolidation is working effectively primarily because the cultural anxieties of the tribals, coupled with the material experiences of being relatively deprived, has created a sense of immense internal consolidation. And that is why this time, unlike the past, the electoral consolidations between the tribes and the Bengalis and others are overwhelmingly along the ethnic lines. So Tipra Motha certainly is the prime beneficiary of tribal consolidation on the ethnic lines, while there is also a counter consolidation which is but natural. The overwhelming section of the Hindu Bengalis are also veering to the incumbent party in spite of their not enthusiastic take of the 5 years of the BJP rule on the economic plan. Somewhat satisfied on economic ground, but also not very satisfied, critical also, but yet they are choosing the incumbent party because one, the ethnic logic is there. Two, if I may continue, there is also a perceptible change into the political culture of the state. And therefore, you find the consolidation on ethnic lines wherein the Tipra Motha and BJP are the prime beneficiary of the tribal and Hindu Bengali votes, respectively.
Okay. We will come back to this change in political culture. This is very important. Those who haven't been into a left-ruled state wouldn't really understand what does it really mean. So, meanwhile, just a small, let's talk about, say, Assam, right? Congress, BJP, etc. had been there. But we know the fulcrum of power had all across been tilted towards the upper Assam or caste Assamese, right? Still, till date, it is so. And even though they are a minority, right? That was not really the case in Tripura. That was not really the case in Tripura. It was CPM, as you said, is perceived as a Bengali party. Okay, but CPM has also, tried to change that this time. So I saw Mr. Jitendra Chaudhary, who is a tribal. He is now practically the face of the party, and he has been a efficient minister in the past, and later moved to parliament. So, do you think that the CPM had been late in adopting, realizing this, or to put it in a different way, one, this culture will come to all parties, that they have to give more space to the tribal community.
Yeah, Pratim, your question has two aspects. One about the particular moves of CPM on the tribal question in particular. And second is about the general, take on the tribal issue in Tripura. And when seen
what
in
I'm saying is
to,
that have tribals been finally become important even to the mainstream political parties like
exactly.
BJP, CPM, Congress, whosoever it is, that you now henceforth you have to give more space to the tribal community.
Exactly. And the answer is that not only this time, I remember last time also, I had an interview with the then BJP in charge of Northeast, Sunil Devdhar, and I asked that what is the crucial, difference or strategy you employed, and that was before election, to entrench a party which had just mere 1.5% of votes before 2018 election. And he said that while we cater to the general population, he said that I also realized that we need to be sensitive to the tribals because of their demographic thinness and cultural anxieties. And he said that I was conscious not to let BJP practically become a Bengali Janata. So there was a conscious outreach to the tribals and the tribal question by the incumbent party when it was the challenger in 2018 against the CPM. This is one. Now you see, tribals are just 30%. Many tribals in personal conversations say that this demographic division is 2011. In fact, our birth rate is less, and therefore, perhaps we are a couple of percent less than 30. And therefore, there is a deep demographic insight. Now, in a question wherein you also have a sense of belongingness, sense of being indigenous and the original claimant, the anxiety automatically pushes you to become more assertive, both in cultural, political, and social terms, along with the economic incentives. And that is why you see there have been quite violent and militant assertions around the tribal question in the past.
Yeah, understood. But what I'm saying, you actually said that in 2018, BJP realized this issue and tried to address it. My pointed question to you is, as in 2023, could they address it after?
Compared to the CPM, yes, slightly better. But among the tribals, they still perceive BJP as a party which primarily catered to the non-tribal, that is the Bengali aspirations. Because a community which is 70% automatically would be the prime beneficiary of the policies. BJP as a party in Tripura will be dominated by the Bengalis not because it is biased toward Bengalis, because Bengalis literally constitutes around 70% of the population. And therefore, on a comparative scale, BJP's performance is way better than the CPM, and this is also being taken into cognizance by the tribals because it started recognizing the cultural symbolism of the tribals. So naming the airport. After the Maharaja Bir Bikram, Manikya, also being more sensitive to other monuments and other spaces. The Neer Mahal case is also going on, and there are understanding that some sort of amicable solution will be there. And besides that, there is also a conscious attempt not to kind of completely seen as a party which is not sensitive to the tribal question. Yes, but as far as tribal experience is concerned, they still perceive that BJP, which is a default, reality in Tripura because the dominant community will have more share. So tribal anxiety vis-a-vis BJP is also not of something wherein you give a thumbs up. They are critical of the party. But compared to CPM, you see, they are endorsing BJP as relatively better, but not certainly something they are happy with. So this is one. Two, and coming to the question, suppose hypothetically, and we will come to the figures and everything, after election, BJP, because of the ethnic consolidation, counter consolidation of the Bengalis, manages to win election on its own. Does it mean that they can afford to ignore Tipra Motha and the tribal question? The answer is categorically no. Why? Because you see the emergence of a significant number of tribal middle class who are very assertive and they have an acceptance among their community. Tripura socially is a ethnically sensitive state. Since late 70s, there has been repeated instances of social riots between tribals and Bengalis. The militancy was not at par with, say, states like Mizoram or Nagaland or Manipur, but certainly it was a thick reality in 80s and 90s.
No, it is a regional, the tension is a regional reality.
Exactly.
And since they became outnumbered, so naturally there has been, in terms of when we say militancy, that's a very organized and a very kind of quote unquote. So by that terms, Tripura was far below if you compare Mizoram, even Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, etc. But you are very right. The clashes had been there, and it keeps on happening, kind of.
Yeah. So today, what is the fear is that because you are the beneficiary of the non-tribal who constitute 70% of the electorate or demography, they are counter consolidation. There is a strong chance that you can manage to get majority on your own. But once the election happens and the tribal middle class who at least is rallying behind Tipra Motha led by King is choosing a parliamentary and democratic means to assert their grievances. Now, if they feel neglected and insulted, if Maharaja's demands and persona is not taken into cognizance, there is no conscious attempt to outreach him by the incumbent party, then certainly there is a chance that while BJP may win the electoral majority, the social fault line will end up getting deepened. And therefore, more than political, more than electoral, why no party, be it BJP or CPM or Congress, cannot afford to neglect the tribal issue and tribal assertion is because the kind of deepened cultural anxieties that is being articulated by the tribal middle class who have a thick following among the tribal voters is going to become more worse. And therefore, today is a scenario wherein irrespective of the electoral success or failure of Tipra Motha, the tribal issue has to be accommodated by all the parties because of the kind of assertion and informed assertion that we witness today.
Right. So you actually said three things. One, you're talking about tribal assertion, which we can see. It's a reality. You are saying that it has become a new political reality. So that is somewhat close to what I actually wanted to ask when I gave the reference of Assam politics, that whether it is Congress, BJP or whosoever, it is the Upper Assam that holds the baton, right? So the tribal politics, you are saying that it will be a mainstay. It was, we treated it something like scheduled caste, scheduled tribe seats and etc. But we have to, it has to be given a more emotive space in the political establishment. And you are saying that for the time being, BJP will be lucky to get the benefit of it. This is a interesting question, because what I think you mean that after 5 years rule, they are not winning in terms of their own work. But do you mean that?
This is a question of the plenty of the promise. BJP is a challenger, promised a lot on the plank of economy and development. And there is no denying the fact that even the committed BJP voters are conceding and accepting that on the plank of economic and material delivery and governance, the party's performance has been less than satisfactory.
One way to prove that is the replacement of the chief minister.
Exactly. As a part, one of the part of the problem was that the seriousness with which the BJP was expected to begin its first stint in power was perceived by the majority of the voters who deserted their old party, predominantly Congress, also a section of CPM, also a section, an overwhelming section of tribals who via IPFT voted to the party. There is a sense of anger, disappointment among the BJP voters who are also going to vote to the party this time.
Because they have no alternative. Do you mean that?
TINA factor, of course, is there, and BJP is the beneficiary. BJP is the beneficiary of one, TINA factor, and two, the ethnic consolidation, and three,
Here is a question for you.
the,
Could CPM do better had they gone alone instead of joining hands with Congress?
my take is no. Perhaps Congress would have done better had it gone alone. Why? Because, see, there is always in northeastern states, there is always a complaint along cultural and economic issue, and therefore the anti-incumbency is likely to be translated into the elections more easily compared to the other states. Because you have ethnicity, you have economic grievances, you have the kind of always experimentation of going for a new political party. So had Congress decided to go alone, I think it would have won more seats. Why? Because there are many, overwhelming voters of the BJP are basically the Congress voters. And you can see through the graphs from 1.5%, to around 38%, the votes that BJP got last time. And Congress reducing from a figure in mid-30s% to 2%. So there is a clear pattern of entire Congress base shifting to the BJP. So if you are angry with the BJP, you are not going to go back to a party.
And remember, Sajjan, the Congress base was desperate to shift even before BJP came into being. From 2014 onwards, first, I think 2013, some people went to Trinamool. Many went to Trinamool. Trinamool suddenly got quite a lot of wing there. So they were desperate to find an alternate to CPM. And Congress failed them. So they went to BJP. And now the situation is that the Congress has joined hands with the same CPM, who has ruled for half of the 75 years. So it is, it's very, how does it boil down to the ground?
On the ground, this is seen as a hostile move by the remaining Congress voters. Why? Because in the, since 78 and up to 2018, barring 5 years, 88 to 93, when Congress came for 5 years, it is an uninterrupted stint of CPM rule, and therein, on the receiving end, has been the Congress workers and supporters. And in a party society like Tripura, wherein CPM went all around unhindered for a total control, wherein the culture has been of, crushing the challenger or dissenter, there are n number of remaining Congress voters, who are completely hostile and amazed to see the coming together of the CPM and the Congress, that is joked. So Congress and CPM alliance, primarily from the ground perspective,
it failed in
is
West
the alliance
Bengal.
of the leaders. Alliance of the leaders.
Exactly.
And we have seen
it failed in West Bengal in 2016.
It failed in West Bengal, but still it got some, face saving in terms of the number of the seats.
Right.
But in Tripura, and this we say with the sense of confidence based upon our ground field work and survey, the Jot is going to face a humiliating defeat, because the remaining Congress voters are not only not voting for the Jot, but rather they are hostile to the decision of their party leaders to align with the party which has hounded them, battered them, beaten them, crushed them economically, physically, socially, in every sense in the last 4 decades.
Right. You were talking about the Congress vote shifting to, they're finding an alternate, and they picked up BJP as the alternate. This time, the Congress vote has no alternate, the anti-left vote. And in fact, the left vote, which we used to count of that, the tribal vote is out due to the consolidation of Tipra Motha. And also from the West Bengal experience, we have seen that, it is because of, the staying power, long staying power, uh, creates a fluff around yourself, right? So that was not the core vote. It will shrink. It happened in West Bengal. It kept on shrinking as people realized that this party has no chance to come back to power. So with successive election, they have gone. Do you expect CPMs? Well, there will not be any tool to measure that, easy tool to measure that, because there is a coalition and seat sharing. But do you expect CPM's vote share to also go down, or CPM voters will remain same?
Certainly, it is going to go down for two reasons. One, until 2018, CPM still maintained a significant section of its vote bank among the tribals, which, because of the ethnic consolidation, is now completely shifting to the Motha.
Right.
So that is one part. It is the absolute loser among the tribal votes, which is shifting to the Motha. Among the Bengalis, the remaining CPM voters, while the hardened ones, particularly into the elder generation, who have seen the party coming to the power in their prime after lots of activism, while they are going to stay loyal to the party, there is a sense of depression. I must use
The
political.
above 30s are hardened as you go along the age group. So above
Yeah,
30, above 40, they are
yeah,
more loyal. But it is the
yeah,
below 30. It is the young
exactly.
voters.
Yeah. No, in fact, even up to 40, I'll say that there is also a section, and that we could decipher. There is a section of the erstwhile CPM voter who until 2018 voted to the CPM, but this time, even among them, a significant section said that there is no point in voting for a party whom they do not perceive as coming to the power. So this is a pragmatic choice. Why to vote to a party who you do not see as winning the election? And when the popular perception outside Agartala circle, Agartala has a very strange political.
Agartala is an exception to the rule. It has always been.
So in Agartala, you find that election is triangular, and Jot can spin the election, and the Congress CPM alliance can spring a surprise, and every seat has
So
all
five or
these
six
Agartala.
seats in Agartala will go to the opposition probably.
No, except for Agartala 6th, the seat of Congress, Sudip Roy Barman, that too because of his personal chemistry. I do not think in rest of the even urban Agartala seats, the Jot has, strong chances. Maybe one or two here and there, but otherwise, I think CPM and Congress has already lost the war of perception before actual elections. When you are not perceived as being a strong claimant, people have one pragmatic, motive to vote. Why should I waste my vote? I like you, but why should I vote for you?
And
If you are not a serious candidate.
Trinamool is contesting from half the seats, right?
Trinamool in the last moment after Mamata's visit to the state, suddenly you see the banners and posters and flags seen on the public square. But I do not think that Trinamool is, besides having its presence in Tripura because of the Bengali population, I do not think that Trinamool it's not even a footnote in ongoing elections in Tripura.
I agree, but
somewhere in the index.
I agree, but sometimes the footnote becomes very important, as in Goa election.
Yes.
Right. So
that role of Trinamool would have been crucial had it fielded some of the candidate who would have cut even say 500,000 to 2,000 votes, and the elections would have been influenced by that. We don't know that sort of scenario. So to that extent, maybe. But overall, what I am trying to say, Tripura has always witnessed a two-party contest, Congress CPM in the past. In 2018, BJP CPM. So this time also, I don't see any diversion
And on top of
divergence.
that, tribal Bengali consolidation.
Exactly. So my hunch is that this time also, contrary to the popular perception in Agartala circuit, Tripura overwhelmingly is going to witness a two-party contest between Tipra Motha and BJP, wherein, of course, the Congress and CPMs will have presence along certain pockets. But it is not going to be a triangular pan-state election as is being argued as of now among a section of the Agartala analysts.
Right. There has been, we spoke about BJP's non-delivery of promises. You said it is a result of over-promising. Now, it is a question of debate, but of course, the party admitted that there was a problem, which is implied by the change in chief minister. The new chief minister got only 9 or 10 months, and things have been steady. At least there hadn't been much of the inner party struggles, which there were the stories used to come up from Tripura. So certain things are addressed. There are so obviously there are issues, but having said that, from left to BJP, what is the change in political culture? Could they bring a change in political culture? Could they distinguish between beneficiaries and elections and etc.?
Yeah, so let us take the critical assessment of 5 years of BJP rule as inferred from the ground responses. Economically, people are not satisfied. There is a sense of disappointment. But nevertheless, what is strange that people criticize the BJP for not doing enough on development, not doing enough on employment. Inflation is also
these are countrywide issues almost.
Yeah, issues. So that is there.
And Tripura being backward, you cannot expect economically backward. You cannot expect employment to shut up.
Yeah, and also, but they themselves take a turn of defending the party, but what to do? Lockdown ho gaya tha.
In fact, you must be knowing that CPM used to tackle that employment issue by denying them the pay commission benefits and dividing one good job, quality job, between three. That has also been the pattern in West Bengal. Divide the jobs into more number of people to generate employment. So
yeah.
So and that was not liked by people. So what about the rest of the society? What about say a rickshaw puller in left ruled state? A rickshaw puller has to be listed with the party union. Only then he is allowed to run his rickshaw on the road. Or a shop has to, it's just a complete kind of mandate based that you have to do this at that time and kind of follow that. Has that liberty, those shackles finally been removed?
The answer is yes, and that is why I said that people are not very happy with the economic delivery of the BJP government. But when asked that why are you still veering to the incumbent and choosing the party when you are not happy with this economic performance, the answer is categorically about the political culture. And the term that they use is that we do not have to go to Mitchell. Mitchell is the term
Rally.
for elections. So forcible participation. Chanda culture has stopped. Whether you are a rickshaw puller or you are a businessman, you have to give the chanda on multiple occasions. That is forced. Many times I was amazed to see that small.
It's a separate license system. The chanda is a separate license system.
So the Mitchell and chanda culture has completely stopped. Two, there is no hounding by the ruling political party to discipline everyday life of the people along the party lines. Three, there was a Bengali phrase which people used, and Manisha is not here, but she would have explained it better, wherein they said, we asked that what is the difference between BJP rule and the CPM rule, which you have witnessed in the past. And they said, okay, despite all the problems and everything, which we can attribute to the BJP on the economic plank, one categorical positive credit that goes to BJP is that the nature of non-discrimination in terms of awarding the benefit. And they said that CPM rule used to be mukh dekhe dito, something. I mean,
Right, right, right.
they award the benefit.
Mukh dekhe dito means face recognized.
Yes. So
A
only
kind of
so
face
therefore,
recognition system.
yes, yes. I mean, so that was an ideological surveillance system wherein the rewards were reserved only for their own, while the punishments for the others. So this is one paradigm shift as far as the political culture of the state is concerned, wherein BJP, despite its economic shortcomings, is perceived as a party which has let citizens carry along with their everyday life without being hounded by the party, by the incumbent party, which used to be the case in the past under CPM. So the mukhe dekhe dito, I mean, I may be pronouncing it
Mukh dekhe
bad.
dito.
Mukh dekhe dito is something which you find echoing the sentiment on the ground, wherein overwhelming majority of the Bengali electorates are willing to embrace this shift in political culture, and they are willing to give BJP, one more chance, their economic dissatisfaction and disappointment notwithstanding. So BJP has this on the positive side, brighter side. BJP rule automatically has brought a paradigm shift into the political culture, and Tripura, therefore, today is no more a party society. It is not a society wherein the ruling party will force the common citizens from rickshaw puller to the businessman to attend a procession, to give forcible donations, and then accordingly reward and punish. It doesn't divide people as far as the government schemes and policies and welfare. So you find, and there is also a material development on that. People complain, but then they also consider that Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, there is a tangible benefit, and even the ones who are benefiting, many of them in tribal areas, are not voting to them.
I'm just interjecting. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, I mean, there are loads of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, be it NREGA or whatever. There are many schemes. You know that in West Bengal, there has been serious controversies with these things, right? How is the situation in Tripura? Did you ask any question about this?
Yes, in Tripura, people are taking cognizance that this is one positive material development, which the credit goes to the central government, despite, and mind it also, the anger is against the local party and the nature of leadership. Modi's popularity in Tripura is monumental. Sometimes the phrases that the common respondents used for Modi were so eloquent that it seems embarrassing, to repeat that. Let's not go into that. But Modi's personal traction, and therefore BJP rule, as far as and along with the Modi's charisma, which is so popular.
So for the failures, they are blaming the local BJP leaders. For the failures, they are blaming the local BJP leaders.
Exactly, the local BJP leaders, and that is why even the tribals who are consolidated behind Tipra Motha, when we ask the counter question, what about 2024 elections? A significant section of them said that, the central government and Modi is fine, it's good, he is doing good work. So Modi's perception and the charisma and the national image of the BJP, and a distant Lok Sabha election, wherein it's not about, this versus that, is seen even by the tribals who are consolidated along ethnic lines against BJP in favor of Motha. They are also soft vis-a-vis BJP. So the blame is entirely upon the local leadership.
Fine, but just for clarity to the audience, for the audience, I'm just asking you again about the distribution of government goods. Where you see this, you said about this mukh dekhe dito, which means denying the benefits to a section because of the difference in political ideology. right? Now, as I said, that in West, there are controversies in West Bengal about things about corruption. So, how are have you asked any question about the grassroots corruption and related to delivery of the public goods, and whether the delivery of public goods, you of course said that delivery of public goods are no more uh, depending on the which side of the fence you are. Uh, if you just say briefly at this point.
Yeah. So the
Did you ask any question about
disappointment.
corruption?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We asked, and that was the part of the change in the political culture of the state. So, on the question of favoritism, on the question of corruption, on the question of hounding the dissenters, BJP is perceived as a positive party which has brought immense change in the political culture. So, while there are complaints that BJP did not deliver enough as was expected, it has got a historical mandate. It failed to utilize the same to the hilt. But there are positive sides wherein there are very few cases of corruption as far as nepotism, favoritism, partisanships is concerned. In terms of allotment of the welfare schemes, beneficiary, so you can say that it has not been up to the expectation, but no one complained that the government schemes, welfare schemes are being allocated only to the party supporters,
Or against
no,
or against money?
or against money. So to that extent,
So,
BJP
so
on
the
the platform
grassroots corruption, see, favoritism is nothing but corruption, right?
yeah,
And the worst form of corruption, actually. So,
yeah,
at the grassroots level, you are saying that that people feel that there has been less corruption or favoritism. That is the
yeah,
change.
exactly. That's the perceptible change, and that is why people are happy with BJP, not primarily on economic delivery, but primarily on the plank of feeling free. You know, so
That's a
there are
big
the economic
that's a big
difficulties.
change, Sajjan. If you see the
Exactly.
whole jobs for cash scam in West Bengal, that's a big change, right?
Yeah,
So let's to wrap it up. Let's go back to let's just get down to certain numbers. There are 20 scheduled tribe seats reserved for the scheduled tribes in Tripura, 10 for scheduled castes, and 30 general seats. Total 60
yeah.
seats. Now, you are expecting Tipra Motha to really sweep the tribal areas. Will they get seats beyond tribal areas? They have put non-tribal candidates. Will they get?
No, in fact, certainly not, because while the consolidation of the tribals behind Tipra Motha is overwhelming, not only they will not get seats uh, in non-ST seats, but also among the seats reserved for the tribals, which is 20, one third of the seats, only 13 seats have tribal majority. There are 20
Okay.
ST seats, a tribal majority is only 30. 7 seats are ST but having majority of the non-tribals.
So, what is
And
the
therefore,
maximum number seats you think Tipra Motha can get?
maximum would be around 15, 16. That is the maximum I can,
Right,
uh, something that
right,
we got.
right.
But minimum is that minimum, I will say that not less than 11, 12 seats. That is minimum they are going to get. So, which means they are going to sweep through all the tribal majority constituencies. So, which is around 30. Why their chances of succeeding in non-tribal seats is difficult because of the nature of the electoral mobilization this time. Polarization, and that is why you cannot field a non-tribal or a Bengali candidate while you pitch for greater Tipra land. To the Bengali voter,
No, it cannot happen.
matter of
It's
truth inside.
yeah.
Yeah.
if you go for this one, you lose that one kind of situation.
Exactly.
So, second thing is you haven't been very generous to the coalition, right? But what is the number that you give them, the two together? And remember that there is 8.5% Muslim vote in Tripura, though it is concentrated in mostly concentrated in couple of constituencies. So it
Yeah,
is
so
not
the Muslim seats you find in constituencies like Sonamura, so to some extent Sabroom, Bakshanagar. Then if you go to Unakoti district, then Kailashar is there. Then in North district, it is Kadamtala Kurti. So these are the places wherein the Muslim votes are consolidated, and the Jot CPM and Congress alliance, for example, in is having a very comfortable position
lead.
in those seats. Yeah. Because and how ethnic card plays, we asked the Muslims. Certainly, they said that we are not going to vote to the BJP because of the perception of party being not friendly to them. That is how they perceive BJP. But then the counter question was, why not to vote to Motha then? Then they also said, the Muslims, that no, it's a party of the hills and tribes. So already the territorial and ethnic perception of Motha being not only a party of a people that is tribal, but also a party of the territory that is the hill, that is the inside. So that way you see the nature of consolidation. And therefore, CPM and Congress is also, even among the Muslims, is not a positive choice. Muslims are voting to the Jot alliance under compulsion. And that is why these are the seats wherein the alliance is having a comfortable position as of now. What is the maximum extent? I can say with a sense of confidence that Congress and CPM alliance, in the backdrop of three factors: one, tribals behind Motha, overwhelming Hindu Bengalis behind BJP; two, losing the war of perception of not being a serious claimant; and three, the hostility of the remaining Congress voters, because of the alliance, is not going to get seats in double.
Are you being a kind of you are giving double digit to Motha, which is practically contesting in 20 seats practically,
Yes, yes,
and you are giving not even giving 10 seats to a coalition of which 5 or 6 are Muslim dominated seats, which means you are from the 40 Bengali from the non-tribal seats, they are going to get only a few, one, two, or three. That is what you are saying.
exactly. Because the myth, when we analyze the mathematics of CPM and Congress, the mathematics is, and that's how people see it, and that is wrong, that CPM has a committed votes. Yes, it had, not has. Two, CPM is a party, cadre-based party, wherein they do not budge irrespective of the electoral fluctuations or prospects. In Bengal, we have seen that's a myth. The myth of a core cadre-based party having a committed vote which never budge. We have seen in Bengal. That's what happened with the fate of CPM. Now, add to that the ethnic hostility and ethnic fault line in a state like Tripura, which was not in Bengal. Why should a critical section of non-tribal or the Bengali voters vote for the CPM? That is not going to happen. Two, where is the chemistry in the mathematics of Congress and CPM? It is boomeranging. The remaining Congress voters cannot forget the murderous memory which they witnessed and were on the receiving end under the CPM rule.
But
So the
many say,
Jot or the alliance.
but many say that CPM and Congress supporters had also been treated equally bad by the BJP.
First of all, a section of CPM supporters, yes. For example, in Khowai district, the CPM office was put on fire. There were instances wherein the erstwhile Congress converted to BJP voters retaliated. But these were little bit localized incidents. The ruling party controlled it rather than endorsing it, which used to be the culture. One. Two, Congress did not suffer much because all the Congress, voters had practically become the BJP voters. So there is no basis for them to suffer. So that is why, as far as the Congress voters are concerned, remaining Congress, if they have to choose, even if they are not happy with BJP, they will never cross the red line and embrace CPM or an alliance with CPM. It is an alliance of the leaders. And I think even among the leaders, it doesn't seem that everything is fine. First, on the question of seat sharing, there were troubles and protests. Then Manik Sarkar opting out, not becoming the chief ministerial face. Last, out of compulsion, you are trying to play the tribal card by projecting Jiten Chaudhary from Sabroom, who is contesting as the tribal face, Tripura tribe. But when you have no chance, you are playing the tribal card. When you had the chance, you are making Manik Sarkar CM again and again.
Exactly.
So CPM is too late to play the tribal
in
card.
fact
They should have played that
in fact
2008
there was a lot of rumblings within CPM about the the tribal leaders are not getting the due positions. There was when they were in rule.
Exactly. So that is why the tribal card is not going to work. They do not have the myth of committed vote bank of a cadre-based party is a myth we have seen in Bengal. It didn't work. Many Congress voters are not going to respond. So on all that in the background, in that backdrop, you see, we do not find a pocket of committed vote or a section of the voters who are enthusiastic to the alliance. People are not enthusiastic to BJP also, but they're still willing to give the party one more chance.
I mean, to put
People
it
are not happy with the economic
to put it straight, people don't have. People are not really, they are not really comfortable with an alternate. They didn't find a correct alternate to BJP. That is the situation, kind of. So, to sum up, I think it's a very interesting discussion, and I think BJP has to take note of this fault line. There are two issues. You are saying that they will come back to power, single majority, from whatever you are discussing. Most probably, if they don't, then you are left with a coalition with Tipra Motha. There is or support of Tipra Motha, and so BJP has to be more accommodative, whether they come to power on their own, which is probably your expectation or forecast, or even if they don't come on their own, they need the support of Tipra Motha. So by default, they have to henceforth be more attentive to this issue.